If I was going to start my fitness all over again in 2026, these are the 9 things that I would be focusing on. And I call these the 9 low-hanging fruits of fitness because they're very simple, anyone can do them, and I'm going to take you through each of them in this video. It's broken down into training, nutrition, and lifestyle. 3 very simple pillars that we need to look after when we are considering our health and our fitness, but this is going to be focused on transforming your body as well, not just improving your health, which is a great goal, but I want to improve our health as well as transform your body. And these are the things I would focus on. My name is ASHBY. I'm an online personal trainer. I started off face-to-face, trained a couple of celebrities, transitioned into online training, and now that is what I do. I'm based in Sydney, but I train people all over the world. And I have thousands of transformations under my belt. Anyway, let's get into it. The first area that I want to focus on is training. And the first thing we have to think about with training, so the first low-hanging fruit, is deciding on a frequency of training and committing to it. How many days per week can you train? And for this, you need to be super realistic. You need to actually look at your schedule, look at your family, look at your kids, and be like, this is what I can do. For me, I've landed on training 4 days per week. I used to train 7, I used to train 6, I used to train 5. And now with the time that I have and the capacity that I have to commit to training, I can do 4. And that's perfect for me. The problem that I see a ton of people doing is saying, I can train 5 days, I can train 6 days. When in reality, that is just a goal. That's actually not a reality of what they do. It comes back to that James Clear quote. We do not rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the levels of our systems. So what systems do we have in place, and how often is that going to let you train? And be realistic. Go lower. If you think that 5 is unrealistic, choose 4. If you think 4 is going to be a massive stretch, do 3. Because it's much more motivating getting 3 wins under your belt or 3 training sessions under your belt when you're going for 3, as opposed to striving for 4 but only landing on 3. You kind of get that guilt that you're not doing enough, or you feel a bit like a failure because you're not hitting the goal that you want to hit. So I would say be more cautious than ambitious when you're choosing a frequency to train in the gym, which is why I go for 4. I probably could get 5 sometimes, but 4 is perfect for me at the moment. And then within that, I'm going to give you a little bit of help in terms of what deciding to do in those sessions. So I train 4 days per week. I do a relatively simple structure. Upper day, lower day. Upper day, lower day. 4 different workouts, but I'm training my upper body twice per week and my lower body twice per week. So at least I know that everything is getting ticked off twice per week, which is a pretty good thing to aim for. If you're going to train 3 times per week, there's a couple of ways I would suggest doing it. You can do full body days Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You just need to have that day in between to recover. So if you have a pretty rigid schedule and you can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 times per week on repeat, that's great. Another structure that I like to do is upper body day, lower body day, and then a full body day. Because that way you can be a bit more fluid. Because if you have an upper day and then the next day is a lower day, you can do them back to back. So you could train Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday. There just needs to be a day off before you do that full body day. So you could train Monday, Thursday, but then I wouldn't do that full body day on Friday because you need time to recover, so you would do it on Saturday or Sunday. I do that for people that have a bit of a busier schedule that's a bit more flexible and they don't really know what's going to happen until the next week. That upper day, lower day, full body day schedule works really well for that. And with a 5-day body, a 5 times per week training frequency, I would look at doing something like, if you're a male, the focus is mostly on upper body. If you're female, the focus mostly is on lower body. Obviously there's exceptions, but basically if you're a dude, you'd go for a upper day, lower body day, upper day, lower body day, upper body day. So 3 upper, 2 lower, and then you just flip that the other way around if you're female and go for 3 days lower body, 2 days upper body. So there's still that slight focus, that 60% focus on your upper body or lower body depending on what the focus is. Now within that, you could have 3 different, so let's say if you're a male, you could have 3 different upper body days and then 2 lower body days. Or you could do something like upper body day, lower body day, and then push-pull So upper body push, upper body pull, and then a lower body day. So you're still getting 3 upper days, but one is a push, one is a pull, and one is an upper, and then 2 lower days. And then if you're a female and you're doing 3 lower, 2 upper, you could have 3 different lower body days, 2 different upper body days, or you could do like a lower body push, a lower body pull, and then a full lower body day, and then 2 different upper body days. That is different splits that you can try if you are doing 3 days, 4 days, or 5 days. Moving on to the second low-hanging fruit, train to 3 reps in reserve or less. If you don't know what reps in reserve is, it's a measure that we use to try and determine how hard you're training. RIR is what reps in reserve is basically abbreviated to, and we want to train to 3 reps in reserve or less if we're trying to build muscle or maintain muscle, because that means we're training close enough to failure that we're getting a stimulus to build muscle or to maintain our muscle mass if we're in a deficit. So the basic way to try and focus and do this is, if you finish a set, if someone had a gun to your head and said, can you do 3 more? And you did 3 more, that would be 3 reps in reserve. If you finish a set and go, oh, I probably could have done 2 more, but then if someone held a gun to your head and said, do 5 more, and you did 5, then it's 5 reps in reserve. So you have to be realistic with yourself. And training 3 reps in reserve or less over time is going to be hard enough. Now, it can be quite hard to determine where 1, 2, or 3 reps in reserve is. So a guaranteed way to try and find where that is to train all the way to failure, because then you know your failure point. I would do this on safe exercises like lateral raises, bicep curls, leg extensions, seated leg curls, because you can take those safely to failure, go all the way to failure until you can't get 1 more rep. And that is 0 reps in reserve. That's gone so you have no gas left in the tank. 0 reps in reserve. Once you're there, you can kind of get a better guess of what it would look like if you stopped 1 rep before that, 2 reps before that, or 3 reps before that, which would be 1, 2, or 3 reps in reserve. So you need to make sure that you're training hard enough. It's cool to train and go to the gym if you're trying to tick a box for your mental health, if it feels good just to move your body. But if you're trying to take it a bit more serious, and you're trying to actually, build muscle and lose fat at the same time, or lose body fat but hold on to as much muscle mass as possible, or get stronger while you lose fat. If you have these really ambitious goals, or you're quite advanced in your training, then you need to be training hard enough, or else you could be wasting your time. The third low-hanging fruit is prioritizing technique. Too many people focus on lifting heavy weights, especially men. We get in the gym, try to smash it, we try to show off, we try to lift weights that we don't really deserve to lift because we want to be tough. We want to push ourselves to the limit, which is great. I'm all for that. But you have to find that balance of prioritizing your technique. So I never, and I coach this to my clients, I never want to see you compromising your technique because of the weight that you're lifting. Your technique should look the same no matter what weight you lift. That doesn't mean you can't push it with a weight and be like, oh, my technique got slightly sloppy, then I probably won't go heavier. But you need to be intelligent and see where your technique is starting to get sloppy, which is why it's a good idea to try and film yourself every now and then, so that you can watch it back and be like, ooh, that's sloppy, or send it to a friend and say, hey, do you think my squat looks good, or do you think it could improve? And the reason that this is so important is because if we don't prioritize our technique, that's when we can get injured. That's where we can start taking shortcuts. That's when we can start getting sloppy standards and ultimately getting in the way of our own progress. So one more thing with prioritizing technique is that you want to standardize your reps. So have a standard that you can meet where you know that it's a rep. For example, the bench press, barbell bench press. Doing bench. You want to make sure that the barbell hits your chest every time. If it doesn't touch your chest, then it's not going to count. And then you could have more standards laid into that rep, like your butt has to stay on the bench and the barbell has to touch your chest. Now you've got 2 things that you need to meet. So if your butt stays on the bench, the barbell hits your chest and goes all the way up, that is a rep. So as it gets heavier, and let's say you take a shortcut where you stop just before your chest and lift it, that's not going to count. And this is how we guarantee that we're actually getting stronger, because if we don't have these standards in place, we could touch our chest when it's 100 kilos, then when it gets to 140, we could just kind of like stop just before our chest and lift it, and we could be like, yeah, I can bench 140. But you can't, because you've changed your standard. And that is a standard that doesn't count. If it doesn't touch your chest, it doesn't count. So find these standards. Like for a bicep curl, you want to come all the way up to here and down. For a squat, your hip, or the crease of your hip, has to get below your knees. That's a standard in a competition squat in powerlifting, that if you don't meet, the rep doesn't count. So have these things in place so that you know that your technique is being prioritized, and that when you are actually getting stronger, you are definitely getting stronger. You're not just kind of changing the standards to suit your ego. Let's move on to nutrition. The fourth low-hanging fruit. Decide on a goal and commit to that goal with your nutrition and line it up together. So, do you want to build muscle? Do you want to lose fat? Do you want to just maintain your weight? That is very important, because that's going to decide if you are in a calorie surplus, if you are at calorie maintenance, or if you're in a calorie deficit. So decide on what you want to achieve. And you might have two goals. You might be like, well, I want to build muscle and lose fat. In that case, choose the priority goal. What is the most important? Okay, I want to get leaner. That's like, when I look in the mirror, I don't think, oh, I need more muscle mass. I think I'm carrying too much fat. I want to lose weight. Then go into a calorie deficit. And then once you've reached that goal, then you can switch over to the muscle building goal. If you try to go for two goals at once, it usually doesn't work out as well as you want. It's that saying, you know, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Go for one thing, you've got a better probability of hitting that than trying to aim for two at once. So if you want to lose fat, figure out your calorie maintenance and get into a calorie deficit. And if you don't know where to start for that, you can use my free calorie calculator. The link is in the description. So when you have that goal, you have to commit to it. Really commit to it. Because if you want to lose weight, let's say you want to lose 8 kilos, you could maybe do that in 12 to 16 weeks, but you need to commit to it. You need to really lock in, or else that 8 kilo fat loss goal that you have is not going to take 12 to 16 weeks. It's going to take 6 months. And then you're going to burn out, and you're going to be like, oh man, losing fat is so hard. It's not really that hard if you lock in. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, there are things that get in the way. Food noise, vacations, birthdays, tiredness. These things get in the way. But if you really lock in, you're actually in a diet for shorter and you're more efficient. And then you can spend more time in a calorie surplus where you can eat the foods that you enjoy to a greater degree. So focus on it and then commit to it. Number 2, reverse engineer your protein goal. So once you have your calories, which you should by now, focus on what your protein goal is and then work back from it so that you can actually hit it. So let's say you're at 2,000 calories and you weigh 80 kg. A good place to start with your protein goal is about 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight. Or on the higher end, if you're lean and more advanced, 2.2 to 2.5 grams per kilo of body weight. But if you are 80 kilos and you just want to hit the minimum goal requirement, which is 1.5, that's 120 grams of protein per day. So now we have that goal, 2,000 calories, 120 grams of protein per day. We're going to reverse engineer how many meals do you have, and then how many grams of protein do we need per meal so that we can hit that target. So if you're having 4 meals a day, then you need 30 grams of protein every single meal that you have. And that's how you work back. So you could have, breakfast, you figure out what that looks like. Lunch, you figure out what that looks like. Dinner, 30 grams of protein. What does that actually look like? And then dessert, what does it look like too, if that's what you eat, for example. And that is how you actually hit your protein goal every day, instead of kind of just hoping and praying, thinking you're eating high protein foods when you're really not. And a lot of people kind of don't hit their protein goals early in the day, and then they get to dinner and it's a scramble. Oh, I just need to put cottage cheese on everything and then have a protein shake before bed, when really, you could have adjusted what your breakfast is. Instead of having a croissant and a blueberry muffin, you could have Greek yogurt, berries, and a couple of whole eggs on sourdough toast, for example. That might add up to 30 grams. And then for lunch, you could have a protein shake, an apple and an orange, if that's post-workout, something like that, right? And then dinner, it could look like a fillet of salmon, sweet potato, whatever. And then for dessert, you could make some Ninja Creamy type thing that has 30 grams. But reverse engineer it. So once you have that 120, look to the start of your day and then plan it out. Don't just hope and pray that you hit 120 grams of protein, because for most people, it doesn't happen like that. Number 3, and this is a basic thing that I learned in primary school, eat 5 colors a day. So you've hit your macros, you've hit your protein, fiber is important, and if you try and eat your 5 colors per day, it's going to help you get to that fiber target. Now, just while we're here talking about fiber, when you're focusing on fiber, every 1,000 calories that you have in your diet, you want to try and hit 15 grams of fiber for that 1,000 calories. So in this example, if you have 2,000 calories with 120 grams of protein, you want to hit 30 grams of fiber per day. How do you do that? Focus on fruit and vegetables. They are the best bang for buck thing that you could do with fiber. Yes, you can add in things like lentils, chickpeas, psyllium husk. You can have oats and things like that for breakfast, or overnight oats, or throw them in your smoothie for lunch. But if you eat 5 colors a day, it's like a good target to add. So you could have blueberries, you could have raspberries, that's blue and red. You could have green, so you could have some greens, some spinach or whatever. You could have an apple, I don't know, is it red, is it green, whatever it is, or is it white because it's apple, and then you could have like a sweet potato, which is orange, or a pumpkin, which is orange. So those are your 5 colors. That's like a nice thing to hit, and then you can obviously focus on that fiber target as well. But having that variation in your diet as well allows you to get lots of benefits from all the different fruits and vegetables that you're hitting. And it also has a focus in the back of your mind that isn't just calories and macros, because there is more to that. It's how you feel within those meals that you're having, not just what calories and macros you hit. And when you have those 5 colors weaved into those goals, it does help you prioritize variety and also fruits and vegetables, which is very important. The last 3 points are to do with your lifestyle. So low-hanging fruit number 7, try to find a step target that suits your goal. If you're trying to build muscle and gain weight, I like a minimum amount of steps of 8,000. If you're trying to lose fat or maintain weight, I like 10,000 steps as a goal. It's important that when you are looking at a step target that you're not just focusing on what you hit every single day. Focus on what you hit at the end of the week. So if you're trying to hit 10,000 a day, that's 70,000 over the week. And this removes the, oh shit, I'm a failure because I only hit 8,000 steps from Monday to Friday. If you hit 8,000 a day, Monday to Friday, you're at 40,000. And then you have Saturday, Sunday, so you have to hit 30,000. So now you have to not just hit 10,000 a day, you have to hit 15,000 a day on Saturday and Sunday to hit your 70,000 step budget for the week. So it does still mean you have to hit the same amount of steps, but it takes that pressure off. If you don't hit it during a day, it's fine. You just need to be a bit more active on the other days. Or if you are more active during the week, let's say Monday to Friday, you hit 12,000 a day. What's that? 12 times 5, 50, 75. You've already hit your target. Now Saturday, Sunday, there's less pressure to get a ton of steps in. Maybe you can blow out a bit on Sunday and Saturday because you don't have that stress of hitting your step target. Or you could get more, which is just going to help you to lose fat faster and be more active. But that's up to you. At least you're clear, and you don't have to, and you know that you don't have to hit 10,000 steps every single day, especially that Saturday, Sunday, because you've been more active throughout the week. So find that goal and make sure you hit it. Right? I use a Whoop band. You can use your phone to track. You can use Fitbit, Google Health, Samsung Health, Garmin, whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Or a ring. But if you are tracking your steps, I find that's the most beneficial thing to track with the wearables. Number 2 is sleeping 7 to 9 hours. Nothing crazy there. That's a pretty standard thing, but I do know that a lot of people aren't sleeping enough. So I do want you to put your priorities there, and that is, to be honest with you, what I'm focusing on in 2026. I'm going to bed at 11. I wake up at 6 to 7, so that is 7 to 8 hours, which is a massive improvement from my 4 to 6 average of last year. So in terms of trying to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, which is the recommendation, try and actually allow time. Well, don't try. Allow time for that to actually happen in your life. A lot of people have this goal, once again, to come back to that quote, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the levels of our systems, by James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. Don't just hope for 7 to 9 hours. It's not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna happen if you just hope and pray. You need to actually carve out that time. You need to go to bed at 11 if you know that you wake up at 6 or 7. You need to go to bed earlier. If you doom scroll for half an hour before bed, whatever, you do you, but make sure you get in bed to allow for that 30 minutes of doom scrolling before you go to sleep, okay? Or instead of doom scrolling, you could replace it for a book. It gets boring, it gets tiring. After 15 minutes, you'll probably feel like sleeping. So just carve out that time. Make sure that, if you have to wake up at 6 a.m. because you got to get to work by 8 and then, you need to do stuff and blah, 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 the commute's an hour, make sure if you wake up at 6, once again, reverse engineer that sleep just like you would with your protein goal, so that if you wake up at 6, you have to go to bed at 10 if you want 8 hours, or go to bed earlier so that you fall asleep at 10 and sleep all the way to 6. A couple of strategies that I like to use with my sleep. I dwindle off or eliminate any drinking of liquids after dinner, because I don't want to wake up and go to the bathroom. It's too precious for me. Sleep is too precious. I don't want to wake up and go for a pee, because then that might startle you, wake you up, your mind will start racing, and then you're up, right? So eliminate that so you don't have to wake up to use the bathroom. When you are in your bed, if you sleep in your bed, then make sure that you basically only use your bed for intimacy with your partner and sleeping. Try not to mix scrolling in your bed or working in your bed in that area. So because your body has this ability to remember what you're doing in that place, right? If you go to your bed and you always sleep in your bed, your body knows, I'm in my bed, I'm going to sleep. Now you can just be so tired where you can sleep anywhere. I have that ability. So this doesn't really apply to me too much, but I know that this has helped a lot of people that I've coached over time. So if you try to make your dinner table, the place where you eat or you work, or your sofa where you watch TV, scroll, talk to your wife, talk to your husband, whatever it is, or maybe you lie on the couch and work, or sit on the couch and work, but when you sleep, you go to your bed. Separate those areas. Another really obvious one is waking up and sleeping at the same time. If you are out of sync at the moment and you're not sleeping enough, or don't like the times that you're waking and sleeping, what you can do is just try to start to change that by 15 minutes or 30 minutes per day, and slowly work to the times that you want to, like I'm slowly working towards going to bed at 11 and waking up at 6 to 7. Have those in place. Also, the ideal temperature for sleeping is around 20 degrees Celsius. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but if you can get your room to around that, then that's going to be a great idea. If your room's dark, that's going to help as well. Blackout curtains will save your life. If you sleep really lightly, you can use a white noise machine. I sleep with a white noise machine because I sleep with my daughter, and she uses it because our rooms are relatively close to the kitchen. It's pretty loud, so that helps to kind of dull out the noises and decreases the chances of our daughters waking up. So you can use that if you want. What else do I do? That's basically it. The last low-hanging fruit is a bit of a thing that I use to help. I don't like the word stress management because it's really unsexy and no one really wants to hear what you have to say after you say that, but I like to write things down if I feel very overwhelmed, because if I get overwhelmed and I go to bed, I just stare at the roof and I don't sleep, because I have things to do at work, things to do with my family, things that I want to tick off, goals that I want to achieve. They just come flooding in at nighttime. So what I do is write them down. It might be on my phone, in the notes section, things that I want to do, or things that are on my mind, because what it does is it kind of helps you actualize what things you're actually facing. So you could literally open, a book or a notepad or a journaling pad or whatever you have, and just like write down all the goals that you're trying to achieve, or the things that are on your mind. Okay, I need to pay this bill. I need to talk to this person. I need to ring my nana. I haven't called her in a long time. That's keeping me up. Oh shit, I need to write this email out to my email list. Blah, 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 blah. I need to do some posts. Oh yeah, I need to do 5 Instagram reels. Da, 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 da. And you might realize that your problems are only 7 when it feels like it's 700. So I found that writing down your goals, once again, super simple. It's kind of like journaling, but it's basically just getting your thoughts and your questions or your queries, like anything that's on your mind, you put it down, and it gives them a place to live so that they don't live in your head. I find that once I write them down, I can go to sleep a lot easier because I'm not carrying that burden of feeling like I have 700 things to deal with, and I know that it's 7. And then once I have these 7 things, you can obviously, like I was alluding to before, reverse engineer. How do you tick these 7 things off? I just need to call my nana. Boom. All right, call my nana, talk to her. Boom. That's done. Now now you can start making progress and you can start moving forward. That's one thing that I've helped, if you can't sleep or if you are stressed and it's affecting your life, I find that's really helpful. One bonus thing that I want to throw in at the end, and this is a bit of a cheesy thing that I've done and I do and have done since since I was 14 years old. I have this gratitude list that I go through. Now, let me bring it up here because I don't want to screw this up. But this is something actually my clients in Built by Brock, which is my coaching subscription, have access to this PDF. And it's a gratitude list that I do. So I wake up and I have, it says gratitude, and it's all the things that I'm grateful for. So I list my family, my friends, the talents that I believe I have, the business that I have, and the life that I get to live. So the life that I get to live is just like a very simple thing. The roof over my head, the food on my plate, the clothes on my body, the money in my wallet, the words in my mouth, the thoughts in my brain, people in my life, the job I choose, and a fully abled body, and the opportunities that I get in my life. So I start in this very grateful frame of mind, attitude of gratitude, right? And then I go through this self-affirmation declaration type of thing. I call it declaration just because the wording's self-affirmations kind of turned me off. But I just say things that I want to be, the character traits that I want to have. The first three are, I am courageous, I am focused, I put first things first. There are other things that I have, like I am worth it, I am diligent, I am focused, I work smart, I don't just work hard. I am generous, I am selfless, I give without the expectation of return. These are things that I want to embody. This is who I want to be, because not every day we feel like this. Sometimes you wake up and you feel shit. Sometimes your daughter wakes up 10 times a night and you feel like you haven't slept at all, but you still have to wake up and charge through the day. This is what helps me do that. Helps me feel bulletproof. And then there are things that I'm asking for in my life, not for free. I know that I have to work for it, but I kind of declare things and ask for things that I'm going for. How many members I want in my coaching, the income that I want, the sort of house that I want, the deals that I want to come through. My wife and I are on a property journey, so the sort of properties that we want. The sort of people that I want in my life, the friends that I want to have, the marriage that I want to have with my wife. All aspects of my life are kind of like the things that I'm asking for are in here. And then I finish it off with quotes, proverbs, and wise words. So these are just quotes. Some are passages from the Bible. Some are just random quotes that really pump me up. For example, there's one, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. I just like it. That pumps me up. The lessons you need are in the tasks you're not doing. That pumps me up. What else do we have? We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. That reminds me of personal growth, right? So I know I'm getting into cheesy land, but basically the four things that I do within this last sort of bonus low-hanging fruits: gratitude, self-affirmations or declarations, things that I want to happen. So ask and you shall receive. That's what I have written here. And then quotes, proverbs, and wise words. Those are four things that help me to feel invincible. And then I go and charge through the day. This takes me about 5 minutes to read, and I read it every morning. And as I'm reading through it, if there's things that pop in my head, I just edit it. It's just notes on my app, and then, if I'm away from my laptop, I'll just read it on my phone. A cheeky thing I have done before is I'll put my headphones in and I'll say, hey Siri, can you read the notes on my app, on my notes app called Gratitude List, and she just reads it out loud to me. Sometimes I let her do that while I'm driving because I obviously can't sit there and do that when I'm driving early in the morning. That's a hack that I really love. So take that on board. That's a little bit woo-woo, that's a little bit self-helpy, but if I was to start my fitness again, these are the 9 places that I would start, the low-hanging fruits. If you do enjoy this video, please let me know what sort of other pieces of content you want to see. If you do want to be coached by me, check out the link in the description which says Team Brock ASHBY Plans, and once you hit that, you can see if you want to work with me in a one-to-one personalized premium coaching capacity, or I have Built by Brock, which is a subscription where you have access to a ton of awesome programs, personalized macros, and heaps of educational content to help you grow, and a community to push you along as you pursue your transformation. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.